Hey, everybody. It's Chris. It is Friday, January 17th. Welcome to the live stream from my new camera, new lighting, new microphone. It's all happening, people. Thank you for joining. Let's see. Let's do some basic business first, which is if you are not subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? Let's just do it, right? Like, let's do it. So that's number one. Number two, if you want to check out what I'm writing on a daily basis, go over to Substack, chriscillizza.substack.com. Check that out. It's fun. A lot of it's free. Some of it's not. Would love for you. It's $6 a month, $60 for the year if you want to pay for a subscription there. When it comes to this chat, if you are new here, what I do is this. I basically just go through as many questions as humanly possible and answer them for as long as I can. And the one thing I would say is since I am not running a not-for-profit and I am trying to do this for a living, if you want to donate to me, can you see those books back there? Those are Almanacs of the American Politics that someone donated to me. If you want to donate to my effort to get every single Almanac of American Politics, to buy them, make a donation. The thing I will do is if you do donate via Super Chat, I will jump your question up to the top and make sure it gets read. That said, donations are appreciated, but absolutely not necessary. All right, so this is the last live stream we will do with Joe Biden as president of the United States. The next time we gather, next Friday, actually potentially even earlier than that, because I think I may do a live stream during the inauguration itself. Stay tuned. But the next time we gather, Donald Trump will either be about to be president or be president. So let's jump in. Again, I will go for as long as you have questions. Here we go. Mr. Wolf, history repeated itself. First Reagan, now Trump, with hostages freed before inauguration. Why does the perception of presidential strength persist, and how can a president avoid seeming weak? That is a great question. I think it's really hard no matter what once the election, it's always weird, right? The election is in November and then you're not president, or you're still president until sort of mid to end of January. So that's kind of odd in and of itself. It's just hard because it's like, yeah, you're still president, but the other guy, particularly when the other party wins, it's like, well, the other party won, so how much should you do? And that's been exacerbated by the fact that Donald Trump is Donald Trump. Just a total scene eater and oxygen sucker upper. And so I think he's just totally overshadowed Biden since November 5th. One thing I will say, Trump has tried to claim total credit for the hostages, the Israeli-Hamas peace deal, hostages being released, etc. I don't think he gets total credit for that. Do I think he had some role? Sure, because remember, Trump said, like, if Hamas still has Israeli terrorists when I become president, look out. Basically, we're going to bomb the hell out of you. Effectively is what he said. Sure, I think that had some effect on encouraging Hamas's leadership to get to the table. But Joe Biden and his diplomats, including Tony Blinken, were super involved, right? So I think it's a little bit of both. But yeah, Mr. Wolf, it's a really hard thing to kind of navigate, I think. Dan W. The Supreme Court upheld the TikTok ban today. What's your prediction how it ends? My guess, there's an extension and the U.S. company buys it. Too many jobs and other companies on TikTok at stake for it to just go away. Dan, I totally agree with you. I think that's where we're headed. I don't totally know. Hold on. I'm doing one quick thing. Hold on, live stream. I'm just I'm going to set a super chat goal in here. So I'm just going to put that. Let's see if that works. To get 10 to try to get an inauguration live stream. So I don't think TikTok's going away either, Dan. Sorry to take a minute there. I just think there's too many things. Like you said, it makes too much money. Too many people use it. And there's too many interdependencies there. Plus the TikTok founder and owner is going to be at the inauguration with Donald Trump. So I don't see it going away. I think what's going to happen is, yes. So Biden has said he's not going to enforce the decision. So January 19th, it's not going away this Sunday. Trump has said the same thing. My guess is Trump will try to create a 90-day to 120-day window where the decision won't be enforced. And in that window, try to get it sold to an American company. I mean, I guess it's possible it will never sell, but I think it probably will. So anyway, Sherry Zimmerman, Chris, please explain reasons for moving the inauguration inside as per recent news. Yes, so that's the big news at this moment. There's two big pieces of news at this moment. One, the inauguration will be inside, and two, John Husted, the Lieutenant Governor of Ohio, is Mike DeWine's pick to be the next senator replacing J.D. Vance. Happy to talk about the Ohio thing. Sherry, as it relates to this, it's just cold. You know, it's going to be in the 20s, wind chill in the single digits. You know, I think it's just cold. Now, I will also say, remember that 8 years ago, Donald Trump's crowd at his inauguration was not as big as the crowd that had come to Barack Obama's inauguration, even though Sean Spicer came out on the Saturday after the inauguration and said it was the biggest crowd at an inauguration in history, period, right? And kind of got us off on the wrong foot. So could there be some, worries about crowds that will now be eliminated because Donald Trump is doing it inside? Sure. But I think it is also supposed to be really cold here. Okay. Mark-a-lot, number one donation to the super chat to try to get me to do an inauguration live stream. No question, just a donation. Much appreciated. Thank you. Matthew White says, Trump says cutting regulations brings down costs, so why didn't Biden do it? Well, I don't think Biden thought cutting regulations brought down cost, or he thought the costs of getting rid of lots of regulations, whether it was on environmental stuff or food, whatever, were too high. I think that's why he did it. Let's see. Jay Nightingale. Hey, Chris, do you think the Republican Congress, Trump administration will extend the ACA enhanced subsidies set to expire at the end of the year? Wouldn't an insurance spike in 26 be bad for them? I think, yes, an insurance spike in 2026 would definitely be bad for them. I know for all of Donald Trump's talk about how he's going to repeal and replace the ACA broadly, I just don't see that. I mean, I could be wrong, but I do not see that happening. I just don't think there is the political will to do it. And I don't think that they have a plan. Republicans have a plan. Now, when it comes to specific things like enhanced subsidies, I don't know the answer to that, if I'm being totally honest. Like, I'm not 100% sure how that works. They call me Blake. President Biden accepted the 38 state ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment, declaring it now the 28th Amendment. Who, in your opinion, would be the main groups to oppose this ratification? I don't know. I know it just happened. So I honestly don't know who would oppose that. I mean, I guess we'll see. River Fashion. Chris, do you have any remote internships for college students available? Would you be open to having internships? Absolutely. What is that? Oh, dear. Brand new sweater. Yes, I would absolutely be open to having internships. If you have an idea, email me, cillizza@gmail.com. I'm happy to talk about it. Hey, Chris, how many times have you been married? Have you ever been divorced? I've been married the one time, still married to an amazing woman, not going to be divorced. I mean, at least on my end. Paul Olson, will the biggest crowd in history gathered at the mall on Monday freeze like popsicles? Well, Paul, they won't freeze like popsicles because they're going to be inside, or Trump, I guess, is urging his supporters who can't get in, obviously, because it's going to be a much smaller number of people who can get into the official swearing in inside at the Capitol Rotunda in the Capitol building, to go to Capital One Arena, which is a little ways away, but where the Wizards and the Washington Capitals play. So I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if it'll be the biggest ever, but we'll see. Pocket Watch, Pocket, thank you so much for the donation. Just realized there's a minute to count toward the inauguration. Minimum to count toward the inauguration super chat. Was not aware of that YouTube feature. I don't think I was either, Pocket Watch, but now we are 1/5 of the way there to an inauguration live stream. My thought, if people want to support it, my thought is that I come on early with the C-SPAN feed, and I sort of talk on that. I don't really want to talk over Trump's remarks, but my thought is I talk on that. We watch Trump's remarks together, and then afterward, I offer some commentary. That would be my plan. Again, if 10 people want to donate to it, let's do it. I'm trying to do this kind of thing, this new feature on YouTube. So let's see if it works. Let's see. H. President Biden great as president, A, B, C, D, or F? I mean, hard, I think, to do it in this moment, H. I guess I would say at best probably a C today. Low approval rating. He lost the White House to Donald Trump. I know it wasn't him, but I think he played a part in it. some of the things that I think might help that C go to a B are longer term things, spending from the government, infrastructure, Chips and Science Act, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see. But right now, I think I would say a C. Let's see. V. Believ. How do you think Trump will handle relations with Putin and Zelensky? Do you believe his primary focus is solely on reducing costs? I think he wants, V, I think he wants this war over with. He has spoken about the human toll. Now, do I think it's going to get over with as fast as he wants it over with? No, but I think he will probably lean on Ukraine to make some sort of land area concessions to Putin, and Putin to accept them and move on. That would be my guess. Trump has been pretty cagey about conversations or not conversations he's had with Putin since being elected president. My guess is he's talked to him. I mean, I don't know. He hasn't shed light on that, but I think that he will go for a negotiated settlement that is primarily focused on Ukraine granting a little bit of land and Russia vowing to never do this again, whether they do or not. Robert New York, did anyone see Biden's interview last night? So that was on The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell. I did not see it, Robert. I'm interested in what people thought. I did go through his farewell address, which was the night before, Wednesday night. I thought that was okay. It was about 20 minutes long. He was really focused on sort of democracy under siege because of oligarchs, like, he didn't say it, but Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, etc., Jeff Bezos. So I don't know. I probably should go through it. Let me know what you guys think. Let's see. Barry Riley, just watched your CNN video on Dem picks for 2020. Man, that was a long time ago. I hope I did okay. Paul Olson says, click the like button. Yes, click the like button. Just hit the old thumbs up. Dr. Always First, what do you think about them moving the swearing into inside? I mean, I think it's cold. They don't have to worry about, is this crowd bigger than it was in 2016? Is it bigger than Obama's crowd? And it's probably safer. Remember, the Secret Service didn't let Trump do outside events for months after the Butler, PA assassination attempt. So it's obviously, it's a smaller group. It's safer. So I'm sure the Secret Service is thrilled about it. AV, did Trump move the inauguration indoors because he is, 1, worried about small crowd sizes, 2, worried about William Henry Harrison, 2.0, 3, not tough enough to brave a winter stay in DC? I do really love that William Henry Harrison reference, because you will remember that William Henry Harrison gave the longest inauguration speech in history, and he died 30 days after taking office, a illness he supposedly contracted by being out in the cold without a coat on, because he wanted to show that America was tough and resilient, even though it was freezing. Fascinating. But I think he did it for the reasons I said. It's cold, it's safer, and we don't have to worry about crowd size debates. Okay. Dwight Baldwin. Dwight, thank you again for the donation. We are 30% of our way to an inaugural live stream. We got plenty of time still to go. We got about 45 minutes. So let's go. We need 7 more donations of a minimum of $5, maximum, whatever you want to give. Dwight says, what will the fallout for Gavin Newsom on the LA fires be, and how will Trump ultimately respond? So I think Newsom's fate is very much tied to how he handles the rebuilding of Los Angeles. I don't think people have a super set judgment on how he's done so far, unlike, I would say, Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, where I think people are like, wow, she's not done a very good job. She was in Africa when the fire started. So I think Newsom is really sort of, it's up in the air, sort of how it will be perceived. I mean, Trump will blame him, as he has, call him Gavin Newscum, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it will depend on how Newsom's work to rebuild LA, to raise money, to all those sorts of things. That, I think, will be the key. Akko Atkinson, still really want to know what Beatles book that is on your shelf. So this is one of my, by the way, just in case you didn't think I was wearing pants, this is one of my prized possessions. This is the complete scores of every Beatles song. So, like, let me just find one here. Here's Here Comes the Sun. Right? So there's the, now, can I play these things? No, but I like having it. So that's what it is, Echo. The CD man, which cabinet member nominees are you most worried about not getting confirmed? Do you think all of them will get confirmed? Well, when I did this a month ago, I said, keep an eye on Pete Hegseth, and I think Pete Hegseth is going to make it now, which is sort of a remarkable because he was not in great shape a month ago, and he is seemingly in pretty good shape now. In fact, I think he's going to get confirmed. If I had to pick one now, I guess I'd go with Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence. So she has a couple of things working against her. One, she has no experience in the intelligence world. Two, she met with Bashar al-Assad, the former president of Syria, in 2017 for unknown reasons. Three, she has said things in the not so recent past that would seem to be very friendly to Vladimir Putin and Russia. Could those three things add up? They could, but I always remind people, Republicans have 53 Senate seats. So in order for Tulsi Gabbard to not get confirmed, she needs 4 Republicans not to vote for her in the Senate. It's possible. I don't know if it's likely, but if I had to pick one, I'd pick her. But I think she's got a better than 50% chance of being confirmed. Tammy Cochran, if the hostage deal fails, will Trump say it wasn't his deal to start with? Of course he will, Tammy. Yes. I mean, this is what he does, right? Like, he will take full credit if it's success and walk away from it if it's a failure. Yes, that's what he does. Let's see. Johnny Hot Sauce, by the way, great handle. Hey, Chris, since Ted Cruz didn't receive a cabinet nomination, do you think he's in line for a Supreme Court justice nominee once a current justice retires? Thanks for everything you do. I don't, Johnny. I think that Ted Cruz wants to stay in elected office. I think he wants to run for president in 2028. Now, we can debate whether he can win or lose, but I think that's what he wants to do. I don't think he wants to be on the Supreme Court, although honestly, if you're offered the Supreme Court lifetime appointment to the most powerful court in the country, maybe the world, you probably take it. But I think he's going to run for president again. Mr. Jewel, why do you think Biden's disapproval is still sinking among Democrats? Also, I think I'm a very disillusioned left-leaning independent. Any advice on how to move forward during the next term? So Biden's numbers are really bad among Democrats. They're the lowest they've been. And I think that's because the reality of that Donald Trump's going to be president again in a few days is setting in, and the blame, and I think this is somewhat unfair, though not totally unfair, the blame is sitting on Joe Biden. He stayed in the race too long. He knew he was too old. He got out. It took him too long to get out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So again, I don't think that that's entirely fair. I think he deserves blame. I don't think he deserves all the blame, but I think that's why that's happening. As for how do you go on? Look, politics in life will continue. I think the best way to go on is to stay engaged in political conversation, in political dialogue with people who agree with you and people who don't agree with you. Read and watch opinions that you agree with and opinions that you don't agree with. Take people at their word. Don't assume ill intent and malicious motives. Try to think that just because people disagree with you does not make them evil or bad. That's what I'm doing. Let's see. Dr. Always First says, oops, I now stand corrected about the Ohio Senate seat. Must have missed that breaking news. Vivek to run for Ohio governor next. Yes. So for people who haven't followed this, John Husted is the lieutenant. Hold on. Guess it wasn't that important. John Husted is the lieutenant governor of Ohio. He's been the front runner to be the pick to replace J.D. Vance forever. Mike DeWine is the governor. He gets to do the pick. In the last couple of days, it was like, well, maybe Vivek Ramaswamy will be the pick. Now, Ramaswamy said he didn't want it, but then the last couple of days put on a full court press to get it. So he didn't get it. So John Husted, he was the Secretary of State for 8 years, lieutenant governor for 7 years, is going to be the senator, and he'll probably hold that job for as long as he wants. Vivek, in addition to being the co-chair of the Department on Government Efficiency, aka DOGE, is going to run for governor in Ohio in 2026. Now, he will not have the Republican primary to himself, but obviously that's a race that's going to draw a huge amount of attention. So I think that's how that's going to sort out. XPFC Wintergreen, 10 super chats equals inauguration live stream. 100 super chats equals topless inauguration live stream. I don't think anyone would want that, dude. But yeah, keep donating. Come on, let's do it. It's $5. Hold on. Shoot. Oh boy. Gavin Gainey. Gavin, thank you for your donation. 4 out of 10. We're getting there. We need 6 more. 6 more. Let's do it, people. Hey, Chris, been following you for quite some time, finding you originally on your CNN show, The Point. How do you think Donald J. Trump solves Ukraine day one? Well, he's not going to solve Ukraine day one, first of all. And thank you for the donation and thank you for the good question. I think he may call Putin. There may be some kind of thing that they've talked about that may already be set up. I don't think he's going to announce it on day one. I mean, I guess he could, like if they've been some agreement that's sort of agreed to in principle, and when he becomes president, they sort of formalize it. My guess is he's just going to say, I talked to Vladimir Putin, I talked to Volodymyr Zelensky, we're going to have a deal really soon or something like that. If it's on day one, I would be surprised. And again, what I think it will be is the Ukrainians give up at least some land and the Russians agree to never invade again. Now, I think I was just listening to the Rest is History podcast on the rise of the Nazis, where they agreed to never invade Czechoslovakia if Czechoslovakia gave them the Sudeten land. And we know how that went. So, right. Let's see. Dan Lanning's PR team. Any comparison between Trump's victory rally on Sunday and Nuremberg 1933 of the same name? No Nazi comparisons. Nils Lindenblad. What is up with the Washington Post endorsing election-denying Pam Bondi and not endorsing Kamala? Can we expect more capitulation to Trump from the Post? We're dropping our subscription to the Post. Well, 300,000 people have dropped their subscription to the Washington Post. I didn't see that they endorsed Pam Bondi for Attorney General, but okay. I mean, look, yeah, I think Jeff Bezos and who's the owner, and Will Lewis, who's the publisher of the Washington Post, think the Washington Post is too liberal, think it is too reflexively anti-Trump, and they are trying to move it forcibly more to the center. I think that's tough because I think the people on the right are never going to think that the Washington Post is conservative enough for them, and you lose a lot of people on the left. And to be honest, the center, it might be an interesting place to occupy ideologically and politically, but it's not a good place to occupy business-wise because it's just not, there's no money there. Let's see. Robert New York, is that a Charles Tyrwhitt sweater? No, J. Crew. Let's see. Brian, you talked about John Fetterman the other day. Do you think his stroke changed him politically? Strokes can change a person's personality. Wondering if you know that's possible. I do know that can happen. I'm not a doctor and can't say if that happened. I mean, to me, Fetterman's personality seems relatively similar, which is he's kind of a rebel. Like he kind of likes giving the finger to conventional wisdom. So the meeting with Trump thing kind of fits that to me. Like that kind of fits. Doesn't really surprise me. So I don't know is the short answer on the stroke thing. Like I think he's trying to carve a different path for Democrats. I don't know if it'll work, but it's not total resistance to Donald Trump. By the way, we need 6 more donations of $5 or more to get this inauguration live stream that I want to do. So let's make it happen. BK739, John Meacham asked this question when talking about Biden's legacy. Was the skill set that produced 48 months of results worth the price of political confusion that unfolded in 2024? I don't totally get that question. I guess it's that Biden did a lot that he didn't get credit for in the actual election. If that's the case, I do agree with that. I think Biden passed much more legislation and much more meaningful legislation than I personally thought he would, given sort of the divide in Congress, given that Trump was still out there, given that Trump had never conceded the election, given the polarization in the country. So I was a little bit surprised that he got stuff done, but he was not able, and Biden said this in his farewell speech from the Oval Office. He basically said, like, look, I was not able to convince people in their daily lives that I had done things that made their daily lives better, particularly on the economic side. And I think that's true. Sam, hey, Chris, who do you think could succeed Schumer as Democratic Senate leader in the near future? Great question. So I think there's a couple people. Kirsten Gillibrand, although she is from New York, so I don't know if you want to go New York to New York, but Kirsten Gillibrand's the head of the Senatorial Campaign Committee this election, which is sort of a spot from which you could leap to leader if that job comes open. Chris Van Hollen, I think from Maryland, is a name I always bring up. I think he's a really impressive guy, good fundraiser, good on policy, smart, not that old, and could step in there. I'm trying to think who else. I mean, I think Michael Bennet would be really good from Colorado. He's thoughtful. He might be too moderate to lead the party, like to be elected the party leader, but I think he would be great. If other people have other names, that's happy to check them out. Elaine H, any thoughts on what is proposed to Jim Acosta being moved to a midnight anchor slot per Oliver Darcy? Seems due to the Trump Acosta kerfuffle in the past Trump administration. Yeah. That is, I read that. And for people who don't know, it's basically saying that Jim Acosta, who has the 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. hour right now on CNN, would be moved to the 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. hours on CNN. That is not a promotion, people. No matter what it's spun as, that is not a promotion. And yeah, Acosta made his name and fame and infamy in some circles by being very, very confrontational with Trump, both as a White House correspondent for CNN and then as an anchor. Do I think CNN and every other major media organization is trying to get right at some level with Trump, or at least not have big time Trump antagonists on its front line? I do. Because I always say these media organizations are owned by big corporations, and corporations are not red or blue. They're green. They care about money. They care about making money for their stockholders. And that's what all these moves are doing, whether it's Bezos or Zuckerberg or this thing at CNN. So, I mean, I would not be happy if I was Jim Acosta, who I don't know well, but I mean, I've had great interactions with. I would not be thrilled. And I don't think it's a reach to say that it appears as though they're doing this to try to sort of accommodate, take one of the people who were a thorn in Trump's side in his first term and kind of farm him out. But folks, we only have 58 likes. Come on, people. We can do this. Eric Mays. Eric, thank you for the donation. You rock. We're halfway there. 5 out of 10, I think. Why is it not? I don't know why it's not saying 5 out of 10, but we should be at 5 out of 10 for the inauguration live stream. Clay S says, wait, what? Pre-inauguration? Yeah. So here's my thought for people who are wondering. I want to do a live stream. And I just thought it would be fun to have like a little goal to raise a little bit of money to do it. But I want to do a live stream on Inauguration Day on YouTube, where I take the C-SPAN feed and I kind of talk over it and under it. So like in the run up to it, when there's like all these people milling around, I'll offer some commentary. Then we'll watch the Trump speech, which shouldn't be that long. He spoke for 16 minutes in 2016. I wouldn't anticipate him going super long this time. And then afterward, I'd offer some commentary too. Or maybe I'll just cut it off after that. And then I'll do a whole nother video, but that's my plan. That's my goal. So let's see. Hold on. I'm going through questions. Just want to make sure I'm here. I did Schumer. I did that. El Hombre de Oro. Hey, Chris, nice to catch you live after a long time. Thank you for being here live. That's awesome. Elaine H says, I remember 1985 when the inauguration was moved inside. Yes, Elaine, that's the last time it was inside. That was Reagan's second term. Last time it was moved inside. I remember 09 Obama, and it was 25 or 26 degrees, like 2 or 3 degrees warmer than it's supposed to be. And I was out there for the Washington Post on the riser at about 5 o'clock in the morning. And I've never been colder in my life by the end. Never been colder. I mean, nightmare. Dr. Banana, Trump is still going to say he had the largest crowd size regardless of location. Totally true. Lil Robot, will Tim Burchett run for president? No, I don't think he will. I mean, Tim Burchett, for people who don't know, is from Tennessee. He's very conservative, but unpredictably so. Kind of has a lot of interesting friendships across the aisle. I don't think he'll run for president. It's so hard for a House member to run for president, if I'm being totally honest. But he could. I see his name mentioned for governor in 2026 at Tennessee. That seat will be open. I think if Marsha Blackburn, the current senator, runs for governor, then Burchett probably wouldn't. But if she doesn't, maybe he would. But no, I don't think he's running for president. Elaine H, second question. What about Phil Rucker now leaving the Washington Post? So I saw that Phil is leaving, the national editor of the Post. Look, I think there's a purge going, or a rats jumping off the ship. I mean, you've seen Roz Helderman, who I used to work with, is going over to the New York Times to be the Supreme Court editor. 15 to 20 people have left who I worked with in the last 2 months from the Post. I wrote about this. I basically entitled, What the Hell is Happening at the Washington Post on Substack. Again, if you don't check my Substack out, you should, chriscillizza.substack.com, or just type my name and Substack into the internet and it'll come up. Look, I think the issue is that there's no North Star. Like, on the one hand, I kind of get Will Lewis, the publisher, said very famously / infamously, people aren't to the staff. People aren't reading your work and you need to change. I don't think he's wrong, right? Traffic is way down. They lost $77 million in 2023. At the same time, it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? We're not going to continue doing what we're doing, but what are we going to do? And I think that hasn't been articulated all that well. I actually just got asked to do a podcast about the Washington Post, which I will do. Pam O'Fallon. Pam, thank you for the donation. Pam says, I want a live stream. Love your content and analysis, Chris. How many can fit in an inside inauguration? Sorry if this was asked. I was late. Pam, thank you for your donation. We're getting there, even though I think the counter is broken. I think we're ahead of, this says 5 of 10, but let's get there. Let's ensure it. So we do a live inauguration live stream. A much smaller amount, Pam. I would say a couple hundred people. I mean, remember, all the members of Congress, or most of the members of Congress are there. So that's 535. Call it 450 because some won't be there. Cabinet officials, former presidents. Like there's not going to be a lot of public at that event, if any. So it's going to be way, way, way smaller. Let's see. Maxwell Finer, what do you think of the tech executives attending the nomination? I think they know how transactional Donald Trump is, and giving money to him and being there at his inauguration will make him like them. And Donald Trump likes people who like him and who do things for him. I mean, it's not complicated, right? Like, don't overthink it. They understand that Trump is transactional. They understand that Trump wants them to support him. So they're supporting him because they think they'll get something from it. Now, if you're a Trump ally, you'll say, well, he doesn't operate like that. He doesn't just give things to people. We'll see. But that's why they're there. I don't think it's complicated. Let's see. El Obre de Oro, who do you think has the edge in the Virginia governor's race, Abigail Spanberger or Winsome Sears? I'll give a slight edge to Spanberger if she doesn't have a primary. And I think she won't. Bobby Scott, the African-American member of Congress from down in Hampton Roads area, Tidewater, has said he might run. But if Spanberger has a free run at the nomination, I think she has a slight edge because I think first of all, Virginia is a lean Democratic state. Kamala Harris didn't win it by a lot, but I think she won it by 6. So I think Spanberger starts with a slight lead, especially with Donald Trump in the White House. That election is in 2025, by the way. New Jersey and Virginia have gubernatorial elections in 2025. Let's see. H, will Trump finish this term? I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's a 78-year-old man. Like, actuarial tables suggest that he's like right around his sell-by date. But that's the same thing was true of Biden when he got elected. So I don't know. Health would be the reason. He's not going to like be impeached or something, like be removed. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't think he's going to be impeached or removed from office. So I think it would be health that would be the thing. Another donation, Dan W. Inauguration Fund. Thank you, Dan. Trump won't be on another ballot as of now. Lame duck Donald is even more unpredictable. Could side with Dem on issues. So, Dan, first of all, thank you for donation. As far as I can tell, we are only 4 donations away, 4 $5 donations or more away from the inauguration live stream. So let's do it. 4 more in 25 minutes. It's a really good question, though, Dan. Like, I actually do think Trump will be even more unpredictable. And you working with Democrats, I think, is a total possibility. Like, he's not really beholden to the Republican Party in any meaningful way. I mean, I know people say, like, but, he was a Democrat before. He's an independent before. I think he'll do whatever he thinks is good for him. I don't think he's focused on the long-term health of the Republican Party. So, yeah, I think that's a really, really good thought. Dslav2488 says, Tulsi won't get confirmed. Maybe. 8 says, been there, hate my house phone. Yes, for those who don't know, my house phone rang, which usually means it's just spam. They call me Blake. It's 2025. Who still has a house phone? Do you like getting robocalls? So I have this because when we got our cell service, when we got our internet service, it was cheaper to get a landline than to not get a landline. So we got a landline throw in, but oh yeah. Troy Scott, looking forward to the flags being full mast on Monday. So yes, Troy, I think the flags not almost everywhere, but in a lot of states will be flown at full mast. Remember, the reason that they're not is Biden said a month of not flying and flying at half mast to honor Jimmy Carter. Rich G, Chris, who's going to win the NFL games this weekend? Give us your picks. Okay. I haven't followed them all super closely. I like the Lions over the Commanders, sorry, although I don't think they'll cover. I like the Bills over the Ravens. I like the Chiefs. And then what's my other game? Bills, Ravens, Chiefs. Can't remember my other game. Those are my picks. Troy says, greetings from Fort Worth, Texas. Troy, hello from Fort Worth. I've been to the stockyards many times. Dan Lenning's PR team said the rest is history, mentioned is goated. Yes, the rest is history is the best. Mark Hammer, Tuesday, the 21st, besides being Trump's first day in office, is also my prep day for a routine colonoscopy on Wednesday. Any bets as to which of us will be more productive? That made me laugh. Sam, how do you think Pete Buttigieg could do in a 2028 Democratic primary? We're probably going to find out, if I'm being honest, Sam. I think he probably will run. Now, remember the reason that he didn't get a ton of traction beyond his initial bump the first time was he couldn't win over non-white voters. And in a Democratic primary, you need non-white voters. So can he this time around? We'll see. But I think that's the question. Rusty, thank you for the donation. We are 7 out of 10. 3 more. Be one of those last 3. I feel like I'm running a telethon. Jerry Lewis from back in the days. Rusty says, I'm surprised there hasn't been more GOP resistance to Trump's cabinet picks. Less reasons to stay loyal to him now that he's already won. Sort of, Rusty. But remember, like, a lot of these people are up in 2026 or 2028 for re-election, and Trump will still be president then. And I think they're worried about reprisal. I think they're worried about a primary challenge. So yes, he's a lame duck, but he still has the ability to end your career. And I think that's why you're not seeing more. Justina White, do you think Trump's approval rating will dip once in office? So Justina, he's just over 50%, and most of what I've seen, 51%, probably is the answer, because I think it will follow the normal path that we see for presidents, which is when they come into office, they're usually at their high point, and barring some huge external event like September 11th, they kind of slowly lose support. So probably is the answer to that. Jorge Caceres. Jorge, thank you for the donation. You rock. We are two away from an inauguration live stream. Hey, Chris, where do you see the Republican Party in 2028 with how erratic Trump is acting? I don't see the American people. I don't understand the end of that, but where do I see the Republican Party in 2028? Not that far from where it is today, if I'm being totally honest. Look, I think the people who will be the front runner for the 2028 Republican nomination are J.D. Vance, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, potentially. The same people who are pretty Trumpy, Don Jr., right? Like, I don't see like Nikki Haley being the front runner for the 2028 nomination. So I don't think it will be all that different. The exception or the caveat I will put in is if his poll numbers just absolutely collapse and his term is seen as a total disaster, then I think there will be some level of, okay, we need to move on. We need to do things differently. But that would take a total collapse among Republicans in polling for that to happen. Jim Bart, 8. Thoughts on Dave Matthews playing at the Kennedy Center Honors? I didn't love it. I did not love it. I did watch it, though. Manny Pravia, joined late, so may have missed it. What's on your inaugural speech bingo card? American Carnage Part 2, I Alone Can Fix It, January 6th, Patriots, reference to his precious terms awesomeness, his previous terms awesomeness. I don't think he'll do American Carnage. The early indications are that he's going to go lighter this time, which, it was so dark. His speech last time was so dark that going lighter than that isn't like a big stretch. So I don't know. I mean, I think Trump will say like America was on the brink of disaster and now we're going to save it and we're going to do it very quickly. So, something like that. And he'll talk about tariffs being the most beautiful word. That's my biggest bet. RJ Ware, do you think John Thune and Mike Johnson are at a disadvantage to the GOP compared to Democratic leadership in the past? Nancy Pelosi was a brilliant tactician and Schumer is very experienced. Thanks, Chris. So Thune has been, Mitch McConnell's right-hand guy for a while. So I don't think that on the Senate side, they have 53 seats. Mike Johnson, he's the least, he's a total random who wound up being a person that people didn't hate. And so he wound up stepping in after the better known people couldn't get a majority of the majority to vote for them. So, I think it's a little rockier road there for him no matter what, but especially when you consider that he has like a 4-seat majority. It's 219, 215 right now with Matt Gaetz having resigned. So, oh man, big donation coming in. Thelma Silvestro, boom. $20. Thelma, that is so kind. Thank you. And that gets us to one donation away from the inauguration and pre-inauguration live stream. Thelma says, in 2016, Trump pretended to distance himself from his business. This time, that has not been mentioned. Why? Yeah. I mean, pretended is the key word there. He didn't sign a blind trust. He didn't, there were none of the protections that a past president would have done. Now, Donald Trump's business ties were much more expansive than any of our recent presidents. So we were in a little bit different territory. But yeah, I think he's just going to continue to do what he wants to do. And yes, at least part of the Trump presidency is a grift. Whether you like him or you don't, he wants to make money off of being president. He, whether it's a commemorative token or a signed book or Trump steaks or whatever, he's going to do that. Let's see. Use News. Will YouTube be inundated with pharmaceutical ads when cable news fizzles out? I don't think so, but we'll find out. Spencer Lieb. Hey, Chris, if John Huston runs for re-election and Ramaswamy is the nominee for governor, which job do you think is more attainable for Dems? Ohio is a tough climb regardless, but it will be a Trump midterm. That's a great question. I got news, but in a second. So I don't totally know the answer to that, Spencer. I think there'll be way more energy around the governor's race because I think the Senate race, Huston will be the nominee. I think most of the ambitious Republicans will run for governor. So probably the governor's race is going to be more competitive for Democrats, I think, although I don't know for sure. Okay. And with this donation by Mark-a-Lot, even though it's 11 out of 10, Mark-a-Lot says 11 out of 10, you silly YouTube feature. I need something to watch. Yes, we will have a live stream. Let's see. So the inauguration is 12. Maybe I'll go live at 11. Anyway, stay tuned. We will have an inauguration live stream. My goal is to have the C-SPAN feed and then me talking over it, and then we'll watch the speech together, and maybe I'll give you one or two thoughts afterward, and then I'll make a much bigger video with my breakdown of the thoughts from the speech separately. But that is my plan, and with that Mark-a-Lot donation, we have it. But just in case you needed more, Eric Mays comes bombing in with another donation, and it says, did you see Paul Krugman stand that Trump is, quote, scamming the middle lower class? How are the realities of tariffs going to impact us all, including Ozempic tariffs in Denmark? Eric, we're going to find out. So what I would say is in his first term, Donald Trump used very specifically targeted tariffs, not these broad scale tariffs against everything from China or Canada or Mexico. I think he is still using the talk of tariffs as more a negotiating tool than a reality, because I think even Donald Trump knows the danger of putting a tariff on everything from Canada or everything from China. We'll see. If he does, I think the American public is in for a rude awakening, a very rude awakening. Let's see. Oh, yes, last one. Pamela Fallon says the last game is Eagles-Rams. Go Birds. I'm for the Rams in that. Can't root for any Philly teams. Barry Riley, just because you have a landline doesn't mean you have to keep a phone plugged in, Chris. It's so true. It's so true. Oh, boy, you're not wrong. MAGA Pill Productions. Hey, Chris, while I lean right, I pay attention to some left-wing spaces, and I've heard Jon Stewart's name floating around. What are your thoughts? So this comes up in every live stream. I'm skeptical that Jon Stewart would run for the Democratic nomination for president in 2028 or win the Democratic nomination for president. But I guess it's possible. Anything is possible in the words of Kevin Garnett, but I don't think it's likely. He has taken a lot of positions. He's said a lot of things. He's never been a politician. I think it's a relatively difficult thing to do. I know Donald Trump has kind of made it look easy, so maybe it is easier than I think, but I always think running for office is hard. Let's see. Ben Thompson. Chris, the Detroit metro area is expected to grow for the first time in like 60 years after the next census. Does this help Dems get closer to a likely margin there? I mean, growth in the Detroit metro, presumably, Ben, would be a good thing for Democrats in that state. I think the 2026 governor's race in Michigan, as well as the 2026 Senate race, Gary Peters, the Democrat, is up for re-election, are going to be absolutely huge. John Suda. John, thank you for the donation. John says, if Trump actually tried to invade Greenland or Panama, would that be the thing that would get him impeached and removed from office? Republicans control the House and Senate. I don't think that would get him impeached. No, definitely not removed. Yeah. John Rudisell, thanks for pronouncing my last name correctly each week. Few get it right the first time. Boom! John, I do what I can, unless I said it wrong then. Kennedy Ivey, do you think J.D. Vance will have the capability to take over the MAGA movement? Giant question. Again, I've talked about this before, but I'll talk about it again. To me, the fundamental question in the Republican Party for 2028 is how durable is the Trump coalition if Donald Trump isn't on the ballot, right? We know that Donald Trump has built a coalition a winning coalition in 2016 and 2024. But is that coalition transferable to JD Vance or Donald Trump Jr. or anyone else, or is that a Donald Trump coalition? And I don't know the answer to that. We're going to find out. John Rudisell, it felt like Marco Rubio is well liked by his fellow senators. Who else do you think is well liked? Anybody liked enough where mud wouldn't be tossed by the other side in an election year? Yeah, I think Rubio is liked. I mean, I think most people, like, whether you agree with him or disagree with him, think he's like got the resume to do the job. I would say, honestly, the Senate is a pretty collegial place. If you ever get a chance to go to Washington and go into the press gallery or the public gallery above the Senate and watch them during a vote, it's like a country club. Like, they all love each other. So it's a little, that doesn't surprise me. Let's see. I'm just keeping going here. Rob, have you considered appearing at Two Way? So that Two Way is Mark Halpern's thing, right? He hasn't asked, but I'm always happy to chat with people. Hold on. Phone ringing. We're going to send it to voicemail. I got a lot of phones, a lot of things happening. Mr. Jewel, thanks, Chris. Your insight and words really do move me. Thank you. That's so kind. I really appreciate that. V. Baliev said, I've heard that Trump's inauguration speech will be 45 minutes long. Okay, well, here's what I'll say. He only spoke for 16 minutes in 2016. It was the shortest inauguration speech since Jimmy Carter in 1977. Now, it's going to be inside, so he'll be warmer, so he'll probably go on longer. 45 minutes? I don't know. Paul Olson, I read an article this morning that invading Greenland, which is Denmark owned, would trigger NATO treaty defense. How ironic would that be? NATO steps in, Donald Trump's nemesis. Dan Lenning's PR team, seen the 2030 census era of Southern dominance. Yes, so Florida, North Carolina, Texas growing like gangbusters, the Northeast and even California receding. Yes, I have. Crazy. XPFC Wintergreen says 90 more super chats to topless inauguration live stream. Oh God, so good. Nobody would want that. H says, in all seriousness, is there really any value in taking over Greenland? Is there really a major security concern? So I don't know about a security concern. To me, the reasons are economic mostly, which is because of global warming or climate change, more of Greenland's land is going to be mineable and drillable, and we know there's tons of rare earth minerals in Greenland. The security piece, I guess, to hear the Trump people talk about it, is that China is trying to establish a foothold in Greenland and that we can't let China have a foothold there. That seems to me the national security reason. Daniel Ownbay, with Republicans starting to line up as early as the 26th summer, do you think this will be a distraction for Trump since the attention will not be 100% on him anymore? Fascinating question, Daniel, and a fascinating dynamic to watch, because I don't know is the short answer, but I do think JD Vance has a really, really hard tightrope to walk, because obviously JD Vance wants to run for president in 2028, right? But he can't do that if Donald Trump thinks that JD Vance is too focused on himself and not focused enough on Donald Trump. So for him, it's going to be really hard. I think it'll be hard for all of them, because it's like, yes, by after the 2026 election, the 2028 campaign will start. How does Donald Trump deal with that? Typically, the answer is not terribly well. Nils Lindeblad, are Trump's taxes still being audited? Will we ever see his taxes? I mean, I haven't heard that they're not being audited, although this is like the longest audit in American history. It's like a decade long. I don't think we'll ever see them from him. I think if the best look into his taxes we're ever going to get came from the New York Times when they got access to like a decade or 12 years of it. You have not read that story, you should. Brett Green, thoughts on the TikTok ban? Brett, I talked about it at the very beginning and I'll talk about it again. I just don't see it happening. Going into effect. Biden has said he's not going to enforce it. My strong sense is that Trump will not enforce it and basically create a window, 90 days, 120 days, 60 days or something, and then try to force a sale to an American company, which I would guess will happen. I mean, we'll see, but I guess will happen. Hold on, I'm just scrolling through, making sure there's nothing. Oh, Ethan Silver. Hey, Chris, which of Trump's cabinet appointments do you think will fall out of Trump's favor and be gone, resign, or fired by the end of year one? Great question. I could see Kristi Noem at Department of Homeland Security. I think he probably already has some questions about her sort of media acumen. I could see Hegseth. I mean, the Hegseth, I think, is incredibly unconventional. RFK Jr., again, got a lot of his own opinions. The biggest danger in Trump world is when you have your own opinions and you're willing to voice them. So those people I named have their own opinions and are willing to voice them. So I would guess that is that's probably my list. H says, "Are you on TikTok?" I am at official Chris Cillizza. I'm going. It's happening. I had a TikTok this week that had 170,000 views. Now my current TikTok has like 20 views, but yes, I am on there. Dave Collier, Dave, thank you for the donation. In your newsletter, you said you hated the USA House of Cards. Have you ever seen the original House of Cards in the UK? If so, what do you think? I have not, but I've heard it's way, way better, and I'm going to put that on my list of things to watch. Jerry Vandervoort. Jerry, thank you for your donation. Jerry says, my paid Cillizza subscription is the best money ever spent. Say hi next time you're in Dallas. Will there be fewer people at this Trump inauguration? Yes, there will be. First of all, that is incredibly kind, Jerry. Thank you for subscribing over at Substack. Folks, if you have not checked out my Substack, chriscillizza.substack.com, go check it out. I think you'll like it. It's here and there that I'm spending the vast majority of my time in terms of content creation. There will be fewer people at this Trump inauguration, especially now that it's inside, because you're not going to be able to actually see it, right? You might be able to watch it on a big screen, but you're not going to be able to actually see it. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see if there's any. AF King 223. Why do you hate the U.S. House of Cards? Because it's garbage, and I hate how it depicts politics and reporters. If you have not read my screed rant on House of Cards and West Wing, two political shows that I loathe, go over to my Substack. I wrote about West Wing this week, and I took a shot at House of Cards while we're at it. Kevin Thompson, Chris, I scheduled an interview with you on your calendar for 1 p.m. I'm guessing that was an error since you won't be available. Kevin, that is true. You should have gotten an email from me. I hope you did. Check your email. I'm just going to go. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody who didn't get to ask a question. And otherwise, I will sign off. Let me make a couple pitches before I sign off. So Substack does a thing called Substack Live, which is basically like a live conversation on the Substack app. It's really fun. So today at 3:00 Eastern, so in like an hour's time, I'm going to talk to Charlie Sykes, who used to be at the Bulwark, a longtime conservative radio talk show host in Wisconsin, and is now on his own writing a Substack called To the Contrary. You can get the conversation for free. Just download the Substack app, follow me, and you'll get a notification that I'm having it. I think it'll be really worthwhile. If you miss it, go to my Substack and you can watch it, the whole conversation for free, unedited. But so that's at 3:00 today. So in about an hour, just in case you can't get enough of me and you want more of me. The other things are, check out my Substack, generally speaking, chriscillizza.substack.com. Again, some content for free. To get all of it, you got to pay for it. It's $6 a month, $60 for a year. It's not hugely expensive. I know it's not also nothing. So if you can invest in me or what I'm building, thank you. Here, you can do a couple things. One, you can just continue to like this video. We're at 112. I'd love to get it up to 150 by the time this is over. Just give it the thumbs up, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. Two, subscribe to this channel. If you have not subscribed to this channel, that part should be easy. We're kind of going up over 52,000. I think we're on the march to 60. It's great. We're going to continue to grow. I'm going to continue to make content throughout Trump's term. And then last thing, because you guys supported me, we are going to do a live stream on YouTube. I don't know exactly when we'll start, but we'll probably start 45 minutes to an hour before the inauguration gets underway on Monday. So stay tuned, subscribe to my channel so that you get alerted for that. And if I could make one more request, if anyone is an expert or knows StreamYard, which is a streaming service that allows me to do some of this stuff more easily in terms of picture-in-picture, email me, cillizzac@gmail.com. If you can spend 5 minutes on a Zoom with me, talking me through it, I would very much appreciate it. And I think it would help all of us and the general user experience. So Monday, it's happening. Live inauguration stream. Stay tuned. Thank you all for your support, as always. And I will see you Monday. And don't forget 3:00 today. So in about an hour, check out me and Charlie Sykes talking on Substack Live. All you got to do is download the app and follow me. You don't even have to subscribe. You don't have to pay anything. Just follow me and you'll be able to check it out. All right, everybody, take care. Be well. Be kind to one another. Stay warm if you're anywhere near me because it's freezing. All right, bye.